Putin's war in Ukraine now. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Kyiv's forces were gradually pushing Russian troops out of Ukraine's northeastern Kharkiv region. A Russian official says Ukraine's military was pouring men and equipment into Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv. Let's bring in our panel to discuss all of this. Pleased to have Emmanuel Autenley. He is a senior fellow at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, and national security expert Glenn Ignacio, a retired Air Force Special Operations Commander. Gentlemen, pleasure to have you both. What do you make first to you, Glenn, about Kharkiv? Obviously, there's some intense fighting here. It has picked up, and we know Vladimir Putin was just meeting in North Korea with Kim Jong-un. So clearly he's feeling that he can continue on here, pounding away in Kharkiv.
Yeah, there's a big push into Kharkiv in the prior weeks. They've actually made significant progress. The Ukrainians have been pulling troops to the north to try to push them back out, but they really do have to watch the southeast because that's something Russia could do. Russia's always outnumbered Ukraine, and that is biggest problem for Ukraine is to be able to provide the troops. But you're absolutely right. Putin is also building alliances around the world to make sure that supplies and equipment, especially from North Korea, continue to flood in so that they're able to support their conflict in Ukraine.
Yeah, it does seem to be ongoing issues here as they get stronger as these axis of evils, Emmanuel. It avoids sanctions. They're allowed to sort of run wild, and no matter what the U.S. does, they're bonding together behind our backs, be it economically or be it with the actual weapons. And this also bleeds into Iran and the Middle East.
Absolutely. What you see is a strengthening of a coalition of authoritarians around the world helping one another. The visit of Putin to North Korea is the latest example of how these two countries, alongside Iran and others, are drawing closer to support each other's strategic goals. The upside, of course, is that despite the fact that Russia is a nuclear superpower with supposedly a formidable army, they have incurred very heavy losses in these 3 years of war against the Ukraine. They have failed to achieve any of their major objectives. They're being pushed back, and if the West is capable of supplying the Ukraine with weapons that the Russians can certainly not get from their authoritarian allies like North Korea because of the qualitative edge Western weapons have, Ukraine stands a chance to actually defeat the Russians, and that is really what we should be focusing on.
So many people were focusing on it. They had actually a summit in Switzerland after the G7, but Joe Biden didn't go. He sent Kamala Harris instead. So if they're focusing on peace in the Middle East, as Emmanuel was just laying out there, Glenn, Joe Biden skipping out, not a great look for America, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, knowing Kamala from when she was in California to present day, she is definitely not somebody that is formidable on the international scene in any way, shape, or form. And I think everybody looks at her that way, like it or not. In addition to that, anytime you're having any kind of peace summit, you have to have the individuals, or at least the close allies of those individuals that are engaging war. That's where Russia and China did not particularly attend. So there's a nice letter that can come out and be signed as far as the intent of, say, U.S. allies, but you really can't come to peace unless you're absolutely negotiating with those individuals in conflict. And that is the thing that we don't see between Russia and Ukraine. Remember, this originally started to defend Ukraine from an attack against Russia, and now we're talking about an incredible amount of countries against each other. This has escalated insidiously over the last 2 years, and there has to be a solution to this soon.
Well, under Joe Biden, solutions seem very far away, including in the Middle East. We know their goal to eradicate Hamas, yet Netanyahu is not having full support from Biden. They are moving forward. Emmanuel, I know you've been very outspoken, been able to testify in front of Congress for a long time about the dangers of appeasing Iran and why it would lead us here. In our final 30 seconds, give us your thoughts on where we are today under the current conflict in the Middle East with the ceasefire during the day, but Israel clearly with a mission and task at hand.
Well, unfortunately, we are still in the same place that we've been for a few months, and we will continue probably to be there until the November elections. The Biden administration's policies seem to be focused more on winning an election in November than winning a war against our adversaries in the Middle East, and that's what has been constraining Israel and also, Western interests in pushing back. We continue to try and absorb the blows from our enemies, minimize their impacts, but we're not going for the kill. We're not going for the knockout blow. And unless you knock out in a boxing match, you don't win. And that's true in the Middle East as well.
Well said, gentlemen. Please come back soon. Emmanuel Ottolenghi and Glenn Ignazio, I appreciate you both.
Good morning.
Thank you.